Hey guys, Adam Rose, Vice President, Senior Loan Officer for Western Ohio Mortgage here in Sydney, Ohio. This is another episode of the Mortgage Guy podcast. This week, we're dealing with what happened with the Fed cut and how it will help the market and how it may not at the same time, right? Why do I say that, right? I mean, the Fed came out with the cut. Like I discussed last week, we've already kind of seen a rate adjustment about a month ago because we're very speculative with the announcement of the potential rate cut that happened. So we haven't really seen much movement. We've seen a little bit. Don't get me wrong. We've seen some. But don't think you're not going to see rates in the threes or anything anytime soon. But anyways, what I'm talking about is Fed Chairman Jerome Powell. He came out, right? Did his announcement about the Fed rate cut on, what was that? The 18th, okay? So last week. And he talks about the housing market, okay? So obviously cutting the rates is just going to assist home buyers in their endeavor on searching for a home, making it more affordable. It might pop up some of those borrowers that might have been in a lower price point, and now affordability is a little bit better, right? It's good for the market in general with in regards to their speculation of what's going to happen in the market, right? Consumer confidence and stuff like that. Very good. And we do think it's going to continue on this downward trend over the next 12 months or so. So I think we're going to continue to see more and more cuts. But like I've discussed in the past, rates going down are fantastic. It's just going to help buyers, affordability. It might help consumers go into a refinance that might have closed in the last 12 to 18 months. It might be in the upper sevens or upper sixes or whatever, and it helps them save some money, might create a little bit more equity and do cash outs and pay off debts, all good stuff, right? But it still doesn't fix the housing crisis that we're in currently, does it? It doesn't really do a ton for the housing supply. How do we fix that? Well, I don't have an answer, but we're going to talk about it a little bit. But let's talk about Fed Chair Mr. Powell here about what he had to say. He states, and I quote, "The housing market, it's a hard game to game that out. The housing market is, in part, frozen because of lock-in, lower rates. People don't want to sell their home because they have a low mortgage, and it would be quite expensive to refinance. As rates come down, people will start to move more, and that is probably beginning to happen already. But remember, when that happens, you've got a seller, but you also got a new buyer in many cases. So it's not obvious how much additional demand that would make. The real issue with housing is that we have had and are on track to continue to have not enough housing supply, not enough units. And so it's going to be challenging. It's hard to zone lots in places people want to live. All of the aspects of housing are far more difficult. And where are we going to get that supply? And this is not something the Fed can really fix. But as we normalize rates, I think you'll see the housing market normalize, like I've talked about. The normalizing of rates, the market will start to normalize in regards to how many listings and how fast they go, and more homes will become available. But ultimately, by getting inflation broadly down and rates normalized and getting the housing cycle normalized, that is the best thing we can do for our homeowners. And the supply question will have to be dealt with by the market and also by the government. So, I mean, what are we doing, right? The Fed came out and they're cutting rates. They're trying to make it more affordable for homes, but if there's no homes to buy, it becomes even more challenging, as I've talked about. If the supply stays the same or goes up a slight little bit, right, but our rates drop and it pushes demand even higher to get into those homes, all we've done is increase the cost of each house that's being sold still. It's a natural supply and demand issue. It's very hard to overcome unless we increase our supply and normalize the market. So how do we do that? Well, last year, Fannie and Freddie, they came out and they really started pushing manufactured homes, which is great. They're opening up their availability for financing purposes, but that doesn't fix the problem. Federal government opened up, it's an old shared risk initiative years ago, back in, I think it was 21, it was reopened. It's been there. But what it is just funding HUD and doing grants. Money's available for people to revitalize their existing homes, to stay in the home, keep it affordable. They do some things with manufactured housing as well, dilapidated homes. You get grants for it. It's the same thing for large contractors in towns to get grants from the Fed and improve neighborhoods or communities that might have dilapidated housing that weren't livable to begin with. I mean, that's where the land bank comes into place, where dilapidated homes that are, they're just, you can't live in them anymore, right? And they tear down the home and they sell the lot in hopes that a builder comes along and puts something up. But I mean, what's the oversight here? I mean, is that really fixing the problem? Just throwing money at it from the Fed without any real overlays on it? I mean, you put in an application, you hope you get approved, then what? What happens? They're not building new homes for this or using these monies for new homes. It's for the existing housing stock. So it's still not quite fixing a problem. It's helping a little bit. But what's your town doing? That's a big question, right? So, go to your local meetings, your council meetings, or depends on how big your city is, city hall, and talk about this. Bring this up. What is your local town doing to help with housing stock? That's a question to bring up, and at least something to talk about, at least to get that conversation going. But on that topic, what do builders need? So the collaboration disconnect, I think, is one of the biggest problems that we have. I mean, there's a National Association of Home Builders, and I'm sure they're out there shouting from the rooftops about what they need to make this work. But is anybody listening? Are we not listening from a federal level, or is it just a local level as well? So make sure, if you're a contractor out there, get involved. If you're just a community member and you just want to see this problem fixed for the next generation, what have you, go to town hall and have these discussions with what the city is planning. Do they have a plan? What are they working on? All right, because a lot of this stuff isn't public knowledge. So have those conversations. And, from a builder standpoint, what do they need? Do they need less regulations? Is land cost just too much to take on that risk of a new development? What is this? Look, what are the issues they're running into that they don't advertise, right? That people just may not be aware of, that it's a concern, because we can sit over here all day long and judge, like, I don't know why XYZ Builders isn't building over there. Well, obviously something's going on, right? Something's pulling them back that makes them worry about taking that risk on having this new development. But that's the only way we're gonna fix this problem, is get new housing stock out there, get those mover-uppers into that new housing stock, and then get those first-time home buyers into the existing housing stock. That's how this works. So have those conversations, have the collaboration with your local cities, talk to builders. Builders go to the local city and authorities and talk about what they're doing to reduce restrictions or costs on you, or how they can assist, whether it's doing any kind of special assessments into the property taxes to help cover sewer lines, or help of building roads and putting it into assessments. Anything to alleviate that pressure, that cost of taking that additional risk for you to build those small communities. I mean, I think it's all important. And another thing that you have to ask is to the current homeowners is, what's it going to take for you to come off your existing home? Is it, this is your forever home, which is great? Is it a rate thing? Is it a cost thing, right? House prices are so high. What is it that might bring you off of that 3% rate and make you shop for something, a mover upper, or even or something where you're moving down, right? What does that take? So I'd love to hear from you guys. This is more of a Q&A session, so if you see this video, please do comment. I'm curious what everybody has to say, because every town's different, every county's different, every state's different. Everybody's dealing with different issues. Okay, so I'm curious what everybody has to say, and leave your comments on our YouTube channel or TikTok, whatever. And let's just start a conversation and see what's going on out there. So again, just a quick market update, guys, of what's going on, and just stir up some conversation about how we're going to fix the housing supply, because it's talked about often, but there's not a lot of action really to fix this issue. So leave some comments. All right. Hopefully that information was good, and keep following the videos so we can check out those comments and have some dialogue, move back and forth a little bit. But remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Check us out on TikTok, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify, and we'll see you all next week.